The sages respectfully approached Suta Maharshi and asked him to explain the sacred forms and different manifestations of the Shiva Linga. With deep devotion, they wished to understand the greatness and significance of these divine forms. Hearing the sincere question of the sages, Suta Maharshi began his sacred discourse. He explained that the glory of Lord Shiva is infinite, and the Linga is a divine symbol through which the Supreme Reality is worshipped and realized. The Supreme Shiva is beyond all limits, beyond beginning and end. The infinite Linga represents his eternal and all-pervading nature. It symbolizes the Supreme Reality from which all creation arises and in which all creation ultimately rests. Among the sacred forms is the Swayambhu Linga, the self-manifested Linga. It is not created or installed by human hands but is revealed by divine will. Such a Linga is worshipped as a direct and sacred manifestation of Lord Shiva. The Devika Linga is associated with divine beings and heavenly establishment. Its sacred presence reminds devotees that even the gods worship the Supreme Lord Shiva with reverence and devotion. The Arsha Linga is established by revered sages and enlightened seers according to sacred traditions. Through their spiritual knowledge, discipline, and devotion, these great rishis established places of worship for the welfare and spiritual upliftment of devotees. The Manusha Linga is established by human devotees with faith and according to sacred rites. Whether a devotee is a householder or an ascetic, sincere worship of the Shiva Linga becomes a path toward purity, devotion, and spiritual progress. Though Shiva Lingas may differ in their origin, form, or manner of establishment, their essential truth is one. Every sacred Linga represents the same eternal Lord Shiva, the Supreme Reality who is present throughout all creation. The one Supreme Lord is worshipped through many sacred forms. Whether the Shiva Linga stands upon a mountain, beside a river, within a forest, inside a cave, or in a temple, the divine presence is the same. Different forms reveal the one eternal reality of Lord Shiva. Devotion is not limited by place or position in life. With faith, a devotee may worship Lord Shiva in a temple, at home, beside a sacred river, or in a peaceful forest. Flowers, Bilva leaves, water, lamps, and other offerings become sacred when offered with a pure and devoted heart. Lord Shiva is compassionate toward his devotees and accepts sincere worship offered with faith. The greatness of devotion lies not in worldly status but in the purity of the heart and the sincerity with which the devotee remembers and worships the Supreme Lord. The worship of the Shiva Linga helps the devotee turn the mind towards spiritual truth. Through devotion, remembrance, and righteous conduct, ignorance gradually gives way to knowledge, and the heart becomes filled with peace and purity. When devotion to Lord Shiva becomes steady and sincere, the devotee advances toward the highest spiritual realization. Freed from ignorance and attachment, the soul moves toward liberation and experiences the peace that comes from realizing the Supreme Reality. Lord Shiva is present everywhere. His divine reality pervades the mountains, rivers, forests, oceans, heavens, and the entire universe. The countless forms of the Shiva Linga remind the devotee of his infinite, eternal, and all-pervading presence. Having heard the sacred teaching, the assembled sages were filled with devotion and spiritual joy. With folded hands, they offered their reverence to Suta Maharshi, grateful for the wisdom that revealed the divine significance of the many forms of the Shiva Linga. Thus, the glory of the sacred Shiva Linga is eternal. Through sincere faith, devotion, and remembrance of Lord Shiva, the devotee finds purity, peace, and spiritual strength. May the divine grace of Mahadev guide every heart toward truth and the highest good. In the sacred forest of Naimishranya, the great sages gathered around Suta Maharshi, eager to hear the divine teachings of the Shiv Mahapuran. Surrounded by holy fire, sacred trees, and the peaceful beauty of nature, the assembly prepared to hear about the glory of the sacred Bilva leaf. With folded hands, the sages respectfully asked Suta Maharshi, "O revered one, please tell us the greatness of the sacred Bilva tree and the merit gained by offering its leaves to Lord Shiva." Suta Maharshi smiled and began revealing this sacred teaching. Suta explained that the Bilva tree is deeply sacred to Lord Shiva. Its leaves are especially dear to him, and an offering made with sincere devotion brings great spiritual merit. The glory of Bilva worship is praised as a sacred path of devotion to Mahadev. The Bilva tree is revered as a divine and holy tree, blessed with extraordinary spiritual significance. Its presence itself sanctifies the place around it, and worship offered with its sacred leaves is considered especially pleasing to Lord Shiva. The Bilva leaf, with its 3 joined leaflets, carries profound sacred symbolism. It reminds the devotee of divine unity and the many sacred aspects associated with Lord Shiva. When offered with faith, this simple leaf becomes a beautiful expression of complete devotion. Therefore, devotees approach the sacred Bilva tree with reverence and humility. They respectfully collect fresh leaves for worship, remembering Lord Shiva in their hearts. Even this act, when performed with devotion and purity, becomes part of sacred worship. The fresh Bilva leaves are then lovingly placed upon the Shiva Linga. With pure water, flowers, and heartfelt prayer, the devotee worships Mahadev. The value of the offering lies not in its cost, but in the sincerity and devotion with which it is offered. Lord Shiva, the compassionate Lord of all beings, is pleased by sincere devotion. A simple Bilva leaf offered with a pure heart becomes precious in his worship. The devotee remembers him with faith and receives the peace and grace that arise from true bhakti. Through the worship of Lord Shiva with sacred Bilva leaves, the devotee turns the mind toward purity, faith, and spiritual upliftment. Sincere worship helps one move away from the burden of wrongdoing and toward the path of devotion and inner peace. Having heard the sacred glory of the Bilva leaf, the sages bowed before Suta Maharshi with deep reverence. The teaching reminded them that even a simple offering becomes divine when it is offered to Lord Shiva with a heart filled with faith and devotion. The sages once again approached Suta Maharshi with folded hands and respectfully asked, "O wise one, please tell us which offerings are dear to Lord Shiva and how devotees should worship him with sincere faith." The sacred teaching reveals that Lord Shiva is pleased by the devotion of the heart. Wealth and grandeur alone do not make worship great. Even the simplest offering, when presented with faith, purity, and love for Mahadev, becomes spiritually precious. Among the sacred acts of worship, offering pure water to the Shiva Linga is a beautiful expression of devotion. As the water flows over the linga, the devotee remembers Lord Shiva and offers the mind and heart in humble surrender. Devotees also perform sacred abhishek with traditional offerings such as milk, curd, honey, ghee, and other pure substances. These offerings are made with reverence, while the devotee remembers the Supreme Lord and seeks purity of heart. Fresh and pure flowers are lovingly offered to Lord Shiva. Their fragrance and beauty symbolize the devotee's desire to offer the best of the heart. With folded hands and sincere faith, the worshipper places each flower before Mahadev. Above all, the sacred Bilva leaf holds a special place in Shiva worship. A fresh Bilva leaf, offered with reverence and a pure heart, becomes an expression of deep devotion. The Lord sees the sincerity of the devotee rather than the material value of the offering. Fresh fruits and pure food may also be offered to Lord Shiva with devotion. The offering is prepared and presented with cleanliness, reverence, and gratitude. Before the Lord, every sincere offering becomes sacred when the heart is filled with bhakti. The deepest teaching is that true worship begins within. A humble devotee with a sincere heart, even without costly possessions, can offer the greatest worship through faith, remembrance, humility, and complete devotion to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is compassionate toward his devotees. He accepts worship offered with purity and blesses those who remember him with sincere faith. His grace brings peace to the heart and guides the devotee towards spiritual upliftment. As Suta Maharshi concluded this sacred teaching, the sages bowed in reverence. They understood that water, flowers, Bilva leaves, fruits, and every sacred offering become truly meaningful when joined with a pure heart. For Lord Shiva, sincere devotion is the greatest offering of all. The sages respectfully approached Suta Maharshi and asked, "O wise one, please tell us the sacred origin and glory of Rudraksha. How did these divine beads come into existence, and what spiritual merit is gained by wearing them?" Suta Maharshi began to reveal the sacred origin of Rudraksha. For the welfare of all living beings, Lord Shiva once entered deep and profound meditation, absorbed in supreme compassion for the entire creation. After a long period of meditation, Lord Shiva opened his eyes. From his boundless compassion, sacred tears fell from his eyes upon the earth. From those divine tears arose the sacred Rudraksha trees. Thus, the Rudraksha tree appeared as a divine blessing of Mahadev. Its fruits and seeds became sacred to Shiva's devotees, and Rudraksha came to be revered as a symbol of the Lord's compassion and grace. Lord Shiva declared Rudraksha to be highly sacred and beneficial for devotees. One who wears it with faith, devotion, and purity remembers the Lord and receives the spiritual blessing associated with Shiva's sacred grace. Rudraksha beads are found with different natural faces, known as mukhis. Each is regarded with reverence in sacred tradition. A devotee should understand their significance properly and use Rudraksha with faith and devotion. Sages, householders, men and women who devoted themselves to Lord Shiva wore Rudraksha with reverence. Whether engaged in worship, meditation, or daily duties, they remembered Mahadev with sincere hearts. When worn with genuine devotion, Rudraksha helps turn the mind toward remembrance of Lord Shiva. Through devotion and righteous conduct, the devotee progresses toward inner purity, peace, and spiritual well-being. Lord Shiva is pleased by sincere devotion. Those who wear Rudraksha respectfully and worship him with a pure heart seek his grace and continue on the sacred path of devotion and spiritual realization. Therefore, O sages, Rudraksha should always be regarded with reverence. Associated with the compassion of Lord Shiva, it inspires remembrance, devotion, and the pursuit of liberation through the grace of Mahadev. The sages then asked about the glory of remembering Lord Shiva through his sacred name. Suta Maharshi explained that sincere remembrance of Shiva is a powerful path of devotion and brings the mind closer to the Supreme Lord. With faith and devotion, the devotees gathered before the sacred Shiva Linga and remembered Lord Shiva. Their minds became peaceful as they devoted themselves wholeheartedly to the Lord. Lord Shiva is the ocean of compassion and knows the devotion within every sincere heart. Whether remembered in a temple, forest, home, or any other place, the Lord's grace reaches the devotee who turns toward him with faith. The sacred remembrance of Shiva inspires repentance and inner purification. When a person sincerely turns away from wrongdoing and seeks the Lord with a pure heart, the path of devotion leads towards spiritual cleansing and transformation. In times of sorrow, fear, and difficulty, devotees take refuge in Lord Shiva. Remembering him with sincere faith gives courage, peace, and spiritual strength, reminding the heart of the Lord's ever-present grace. Lord Shiva bestows his grace upon those who approach him with devotion and sincerity. His compassion knows no limit, and the devotee who faithfully remembers him continues forward on the path of spiritual upliftment. True devotion is not limited to one place or one moment. While walking, working, praying, meditating, or performing daily duties, a devotee may keep the remembrance of Lord Shiva alive within the heart. Even at life's final moment, remembrance of Lord Shiva is considered profoundly sacred. A devotee who turns the mind toward Mahadev with sincere faith seeks his divine grace and the supreme path of liberation. The sacred remembrance of Lord Shiva unites devotees beyond differences of age, position, and worldly circumstances. Sages, householders, women, children, and seekers can all approach Mahadev with devotion and a sincere heart. Thus, Rudraksha and the sacred remembrance of Lord Shiva inspire the devotee toward purity, faith, and devotion. With sincere remembrance of Mahadev and a righteous path, the heart moves toward his grace, inner peace, and the ultimate goal of liberation.